Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm very happy to have you all online with us. We're gonna start in like 5 minutes. We're just waiting for more people to connect and the other speakers. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, anything you can leave on the chat. And yeah, thank you for joining us.
Hello, Mauricio.
Good morning. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. I see that Nathan also joined. Maybe we'll take the time before everyone joins. Nathan, Mauricio, this is a good opportunity for a small fight. What do you say, Mauricio?
No, I respect him. I will not last 1 minute.
No.
No, an online fight.
What a great honor to be with all of you in this panel.
Thank you.
And
Same here.
any athlete that represents so much dedication, hard work, and regardless what sport you are in, it's just a great admiration that I have for the champ.
Nathan, where are you now? In Vegas?
Yeah, I'm in Vegas.
Me too.
Oh,
We could be doing this together now. Yes, we had a fight Saturday, but it got postponed. It was next Saturday, Wilder Fury. But I already had everything planned, so I just came and I'm gonna spend a week here.
Nice. That's cool. Maybe we can link up.
Yeah, we should. We will link up. That'll be nice.
That'd be great.
Are you training for?
Yeah, I'm waiting to get a date for my next fight and still training always like I'm in camp.
That's nice. At the UFC gym?
At my gym, which is Syndicate MMA. This is where I do my daily skill training. And on top of that, I do some training at the UFC Performance Institute.
They have great installations, yes.
Yeah.
Fafa. So we have a little bit Brazilian flavor here, which is good. You're muted.
I was muted. How are you guys? How's it going?
Bom dia, bom dia.
Dia.
Every time you have Portuguese, it gives some flavor and atmosphere. I like it.
We have Marcelo with us as well. He's also Brazilian. Some Brazilian representation here.
I could guess. Nice. So I see people will join in. Yes.
Fafa, you're in fitness, right, Fafa?
Yes. Jiu-jitsu as well, primary jiu-jitsu and fitness as well. My husband and I, we own jiu-jitsu academy. And my husband, he's also a UFC former fighter. So martial arts more directed to jiu-jitsu. It's our lifestyle, it's everything. So yeah.
Did you compete? Did you fight?
Yes, I have. In jiu-jitsu, I have competed in local tournaments here and there, not as often as my husband, but yes, I have competed. Yes.
Pásale, Cris.
Okay. Fernanda, I guess we'll join and people will join and will follow us. And I know that in some places it's very early in the morning, Nathan, yes? And in some
7
other...
a.m., it's not that early.
Depends who you ask, you know. And in some other places, it's evening time. Here in Israel, it's getting evening. So I think we'll start. And with that, I will ask Will Silverman that will moderate the panel for today and the Q&A to join us. With him, I will. And we have with us amazing guests. So without further ado, I will close my mouth and let you lead it. And may the best win, huh, Nathan? And Nathan, you know, I'm from Netanya, so once you come, I'll show you the city, you know.
Nice. My mom lives there.
This is how you became a fighter. I get the point. You know, Mauricio is Netanya is the tough city, so it's the city of the tough guys. If you get the point. But I can run fast. That at least that is when you're not that strong, so you can run fast. Okay, Will.
All right, let's get going. I'm excited to get started here. I want to thank everyone for joining us. We have a very exciting event planned for today. We have a lot of great speakers that I'm excited to get to, and we're going to be talking about the recent expansion of MMA and its connection to the sports tech world and the social media world, and really how that's been affecting the growth in all different areas. As I said, we're going to be getting to a lot of speakers from a lot of different organizations and groups that are really awesome to talk about. So before we get to them, I'm actually going to hand it over to my colleague Haley, who's going to go into some more detail about the recent expansion of MMA, and we're really going to talk about how vast that's been.
Thanks, Will. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Coliseum's martial arts event, Outside the Ring. Today, we'll be discussing the rise of martial arts in the era of social media and YouTube, specifically among Gen Z. In 2020, the UFC recorded 7.1 billion views on Facebook, 2.6 billion views on Instagram, 1.4 billion views on YouTube, and 377.9 views on Twitter. In addition, their Instagram following went up 31.2% to 24 million. YouTube subscribers rose 25.6% to 10.7 million, and Twitter followers rose by 7.7% to 8 million. The increase of digital fan engagement and a new generation of fighters rising from the world of social media has greatly improved the viewership of mixed martial arts events, making the sports more relevant and skyrocketing pay-per-views. For example, the recent UFC event, UFC 264, headlined by Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor, got 1.8 million in PPV buys. In addition, Jake Paul's recent boxing match against Ben Askren got 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. These are both among some of the highest in their respective sports history, demonstrating unbelievable growth. So now I'm going to pass it back to Will to introduce our first speaker.
Natan, I'm hoping your upcoming fight, whenever it gets scheduled, can beat those numbers. I know everyone will be tuning in to watch. But thanks, Haley. That was great to hear those numbers and see the recent growth. Unfortunately, our first speaker, Boaz Korpel, couldn't be here today, but he sat down with Oren to record an interview that we can play now. Just to give him a brief introduction, Boaz is a sports broadcaster and reporter that works at the Sports 5 channel. So I'm really excited to hear what he has to say. And without further ado, Fernanda, can you play the video?
Hey, so Boaz, thank you for joining us, and you will open the session, martial art and tech. This is, of course, exciting. Great to have you with us. Open the session and share a little bit about the industry, about your experience. So from that, maybe a short introduction to our amazing participants. Guys, please meet Boaz.
Yes, hi. It's a great honor to be here and to be in the first session. It's greatest honor. And me, I'm connected to martial arts in the last 15 years since I broadcast most of the events, well, not all, but most of the events of the UFC. In the Olympic Games, I also broadcast all things that connected with martial arts. Some of them are judo, some of them are wrestling, other than taekwondo and other branches of martial arts. And it's a great honor for me to be there and to be here. And I feel sometimes like a voice, also a voice of the sport and the voice of the athletes as well. And I'm happy that I'm in this position.
Amazing. You know what? I'll take the idea of saying I'm the voice, because we know that the football, basketball, soccer gets a lot of appearance on the media. So when you are the voice, first of all, tell us, how did you find yourself broadcasting and commentating martial art, UFC, and other special sports, to call it, and not the regular stuff that we see and watch on a daily basis?
Most of it's luck, a little bit of talent, if I may say upon myself. But yes, I got a call from one of the organizations in Israel to come and to be the announcer on the ring, since I got a kind of a voice that is authoritative and things like that. And they say, will you adopt? I said, yes, I will do it because I have no afraid of audience and things like that, and no fear from nothing. So I came, I learned quickly what's going to happen over there. And it wasn't an underground event, but it also wasn't on top of everybody else event, if you know what I mean. So from there I evolved, and then the offer came from, it's called Ego Total channel. It was a new channel on TV here in Israel, a paid channel that all of the content is about martial arts. And one of the bosses over there knew me from the sports channel in advance. So he asked me to come and to try and be part of the channel and to broadcast and to commentate other events. And through them, I was learning. I was still learning. Thank God my learning curve is a little bit steeper than other people. So I could adopt very fast.
And of course on this learning process, so we are saying that you're learning, and on this learning process, it's interesting to get your perspective on the development of this industry. So where media and broadcasting is going in the 5 to 10 years related to martial art, if I may.
Wow. When I started learning, it was really 10 years ago, and social media was not around, and if it was in a very low level. So all I could do is go to the internet, find about it in few, let's say, few websites that you can count on. Most of the websites are private websites, belong to bloggers and things like that. So the information over there, it's a 50-50 situation. But there were only few websites that you can learn about the sport, about the athletes, about the regulation, if there was any regulation. And of course, there was the Olympic side of the story, sorry, the amateur, and the Olympic and the professional. And also about to learn about the audience, because I found out that to learn about the audience is at least half of the job of broadcasting and learning about the sport as well, because you need to adapt what you see and to convert it to what the people want to know and what the people want to learn and how they want to consume and enjoy what they see. And 10 years ago, it was a very difficult situation. But today, wow, today it's a different story, because every telephone, every cellular telephone is a content generator, and you can learn a lot from the wisdom of the people, and also the great development of all the content on the websites and on the net. And I must to take my head off for the UFC, because when they learn, and especially after they make the big deal, and they came from let's say fringe TV channels to the mainstream, to go to Fox, to go to ESPN, lately to go to ABC. And ABC for the Americans, it's the holy grail of fighting, because all the boxing, the biggest boxing matches in the history of the boxing in America and all over the world were at ABC. So if ABC give the approval on the UFC that it's a sport, the MMA that it's a sport that should be in the mainstream, that is the biggest stamp on this kind of sport and on this kind of organization. And today it's the difference. The task is different. If I was looking for information 10 years ago, today I need to filter the information in order to learn not only what is true and what is not, and to learn what is important and what is not, because even the taste and the flavor of the audience changed a lot in the last years in order to consume the right content that you want to give them.
And still, this was amazing, actually, point of view. And still, I will ask the question that we ask in other sports fields. We know that many of the sports is not broadcasted today. If I'll take the first and the second league in most of the soccer, football, basketball, they are broadcasted, but there are many others that aren't. So on the UFC, we'll find the elite ones, and this is an amazing, let's call it in our words, exit by the UFC. Yeah, it has an amazing valuation, and we see the growth, and we see the hype around the UFC. But we ask ourselves, there is a lot of content outside, and we know that content is what matters today. So ask ourselves today, and maybe this to reflect on Ludo's point of view, that are trying to create content, and other platforms and technology that are trying to bring this content to the wide audience, and also help fighters and help martial art professionals to share their content with their viewers or with their followers. How do we see this evolvement on your point of view? Are we able to actually get into a platform in a situation that many of the people will be able to connect, not only the elite ones, which of course this is our model?
It's a difficult question. It's a very important one. Listen, since the UFC and the organization, let's speak about the production side, okay? Not about the fights themselves, about the production side. Since the production side sets the bar so high, it also filtered a lot of the other organizations on the other events just to give up, and they say we cannot reach that level, so people are expecting, and to meet the expectations, this became the biggest problem of the other events. But still, the events are going on. We know all over the world, not only in America or in the South America. It's evolving, and people try to now to make a new kind of content, okay? Because this is the story. If you cannot, and you probably cannot make a production in that level and to invest so much money in the event itself and the promotion of the event and broadcasting the event and all the big stuff around the event, you know, even picking the right images and the right content to build up and things like that. It's a lot of money. It's issue of millions. Then go to other place, find the right content, and people are finding now the right content. So you can find a lot of stuff around food and diets and around practicing and around health and around way of life and around even the clothes that they're wearing and everything like that. Everything inside everything that you can take a warrior, for example, a fighter, and you can divide his way of life in what he's eating and what he's drinking and what he's wearing, where he's going, who is the people who are in charge on his diet. I give you an example, a very good one. For example, let's take Conor McGregor. When Conor McGregor was in the beginning of his rising up, before he was a champion, he decided to go and practice with Israeli capoeira trainer. His name is Ido Portal. And Ido Portal, Israeli guy, he lives in America, and Conor trained with him. You don't, and then they start to film it and to show it all over. You don't know what was the effect. You cannot imagine what was the effect and the booming of Ido Portal and things like that. And you never saw him on the stage. You never saw him in the arena when Conor went in. But when Conor went in, part of the entourage was a big part of the story behind him and the way that he made all the way in order to be there and to be prepared for the fight. And this is the issue. Try and make a lot of content on the story that lead you to be a fighter and not only about the fight itself. And this is the new zone. This is the new area. And a lot of people are diving in these areas. Ludus, for example, when they do it, okay, so Ludus is good company. Also, the pads are wise and things like that. They're very smart pads and things like that. So what you do with it? Then take the pad, divide it to areas, and try to develop a method about fighters hitting on the top of the pad, the low side of the pad, the mid side of the pad, and then you develop a system and you can use it and generate stories and generate better and better preparation for fighters. Then you make, for one pad, you can make a big story.
Amazing. And I think that it summarizes all that everything is about the story, and the more data we have and the more we analyze good data, we'll have a better story. So with that, Boaz, something to share with our audience to I would say for the year to come, or maybe to get rid of this COVID, a one-liner for 5 years from now, whatever you'll choose, I'll pick, and that would be great.
Wow, I don't have my crystal ball with me, you know, I left it at the office. So I cannot use it today. And if I will use it, and I will never tell you the secret because it will make me rich, and I don't want to lose it.
I use my head. We can use our head, you know, as a semi-bald guy.
Don't fight with me about baldies, okay? I am a natural baldy. Anyway, it's very difficult, and I'm not trying to follow around, you know, and to run away from your question, because it's a time, and I'm taking the pandemic and and all what happened in the world in the last year, I put it on the side. Because we show that we can overcome. And the events, the first world event that happened in the pandemic was the UFC event. Let's say it's a martial art event. And it's showing the strength of this branch and the strength of the organization to go and to produce an event like that. And let's say he's a genius, Dana White. He find an island. He didn't find any island. He just took one of the islands in Abu Dhabi and he converted it to a fight island. Then if you don't have a story, so do it yourself. I mean, start to invent it yourself and build a story of your own. Don't be afraid to imagine, because 2 minutes ago, when I was speaking with you about the pad, and it's a technical item, then we make it a story item. This is the things you have to break. You have to break the borders. You have to climb over big mountains and to look down and see and locate the stories that you want. And everything counts. Everything counts. You don't say this is yes and this is not. Everything counts, because we are 10 billion people all over the world, and we have 20 billion things that we want to see and we want to do. So everything counts. So maybe in the beginning you won't have an audience of a few millions. You have a few hundreds, then a few thousands, then a few 100,000s. But then, if you're strong enough in your mind, maybe you lose your hair, but you'll get to the target.
Boaz, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much for the opportunity and for the invitation, and I wish all of you great luck, and hope to see you soon as well, because we have also a lot of things to say about motorsport.
Will, back to you.
Perfect. I thought that was super interesting to hear everything Boaz had to say, and really some of the last comments he made. Normally we'd turn it over to him for questions. Unfortunately, he's not with us, but really what he was saying at the end about everyone has a story to build, and he was talking about Conor McGregor, and I think that's a great point, that everyone does have a story. Conor McGregor coming from being poor in Ireland, Natan, UFC's first Israeli pro UFC fighter. You have guys like Chris Moutinho stepping up against Sean O'Malley at a recent event. For those who don't know, he was scheduled to Sean O'Malley had an opponent fall through. Chris Moutinho stepped up the week of the fight, and now it's a week later, and his followers on social media have gone up by the hundreds of thousands. He got a $75,000 fight bonus, and it's really just the story he's building that I'm sure he'll be able to turn into more things. You have guys all throughout MMA who have the ability to build those stories, and I think that that's something that's so important to do. It's impossible to look into the future, as Boaz was saying, but you can use your story, and you can use your past, and you can use platforms available to us now today with the new social medias, as we're going to talk about later, to really grow and expand as big as you possibly can. So I thought that was a great point that Boaz made. And with that, I think we should get right into the panel that's here. Mauricio, if I could start asking you a question.
Sure, I'm here.
Perfect.
Run one.
Perfect. So as we were just saying, with social media growing and with everything growing, have you personally seen an increase in the popularity in the sport of boxing during your time as the WBC president? And if so, what do you think has caused that? Do you think it's social media? Do you think it's other factors? What are your thoughts?
Well, social media is a reality, and it's ruling the world. What happens, I like what Boaz said, because now everyone can be a reporter. You know, you have a camera, you have a telephone, you open a YouTube channel or just a subscription in Twitter or TikTok or whatever, and now you are a reporter. So what is out there has to be filtered. And also the fans, you have, as an athlete or as an organization, you have to learn how to use social media. Because if you get sidetracked by few fans or few reporters or so-called reporters that report or get this into the hate messages, it becomes such a mess. We have seen fighters that are, people start talking and they get into these discussions that lead to aggression and go nowhere. But if you use it correctly, it is so powerful. As it was mentioned, Jake Paul and Logan Paul, they come from the YouTube world, and today they are regarded as some of the best fighters in the world, even being 2 or 3 fights that they have held in the professional field, or even in the amateur, or just exhibitions. So if you use the social media correctly, it is a fact. My son, my daughter, they do not watch television. They're all day in the phone, in a tablet. And that's what is going around the whole world, just using, we are so eager to get everything fast. There's no more that cycle that you needed to develop something. We want everything fast. And you have to listen to what the major population, which is the kids and the young people, going into. If you talk to someone who is 50, 60, 70, 40, they like boxing. They want to see the 12-round fight. You talk to a young kid, they want to see a YouTuber or a competition which is fast and immediate, and then move on to something else. So it's a matter of adjusting. And the reality is that the biggest numbers for last year were Mike Tyson against Roy Jones in a Thriller, which is a social media platform. And then you have Logan Paul and Jake Paul doing unbelievable numbers. But you have to learn how to mix both and keep the credibility and honorability of sport, but also welcome and do it correctly with new different things. Like what we're working on is unbelievable. We're gonna work on a zero gravity fight, space technology, that you go into this zero gravity for 60 seconds, you fight and then go back, and then that's round one. So this is an idea that maybe 1, 2, 3 years will happen, but it's happening right now in the developing stages.
Yeah, that a lot of great points there. The zero gravity fight, that caught me a little off guard there. That's crazy. I can't even imagine what that would look like. So I'd be excited to see that. But what you were saying with social media, I completely agree. And I think the Pauls are a great example. There's so many different ways you can really brand yourself through social media. As you said, the Pauls kind of started as YouTubers who were in the YouTube side of everything. And now we're years later, and as you said, they're in some of the biggest fights in the world doing crazy numbers. And it's crazy to see how they've transformed themselves through using social media, and they've built their story. And just the same way you said, though, it can also go the it can also go the other way. Just as much as they've shaped their brand positively and they've grown their brand, it can be negative if you get caught up in all the comments. And I'm sure everyone who has a social media has seen it, just how ruthless some of the social media stuff can be. So you got to keep yourself going in a positive direction. And as you said, it's the way the younger generation is going. No one wants to wait for anything. No one wants to wait for the programming to come on. Everything is instant on the phones, and you refresh and you get more content, and you refresh again and there's more. So I think that's a great point. And I think that's definitely where the young kids are heading and where the focus is going.
The problem also is we're talking about contact sports, mixed martial arts, boxing. This is not a game. So it is very dangerous if no one, there has to be a set of guidelines that has to be established, because it can be very dangerous. We have seen horrible knockouts. If a YouTuber or influencer just goes in the ring and thinks it's fun and trendy, they don't know what could happen when you get a punch, when you could really get hurt. So there has to be this conscience that nobody's taking right now into setting guidelines of what can be done inside a ring or inside a mixed martial arts scenario. But it's very fragile. One fun, trendy thing can turn into a tragedy, and that would be very bad for the combat sports world.
Yeah, that's a great point. And with that, I think it's a perfect time to introduce another one of our speakers, Fafa. I wanted to get to you. I know you run your own TikTok that has hundreds of thousands of followers, and I was just curious to ask, how much of your content is martial arts, and do you promote martial arts through your TikTok, or do you do other things that also promotes your martial arts? How do you utilize TikTok?
So I started TikTok about 2 years ago. It was before it became trendy. Before it was just as a joke, as me showing my family. And then one day I decided to share a video of me doing a flying armbar in slow motion. And the video just went viral. It got almost like 4 million views, right? So after that, I noticed there was an interest there, and a lot of people didn't know what Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was, right? So I started doing a little bit more videos focused on Jiu-Jitsu. I'm gonna say about, it's less than 50% of my content. It's about Jiu-Jitsu, but not as much as instructional. It's more as a comedy. I have my skits, I do a little bit. I show that me and my family would do Jiu-Jitsu and the things that goes in my life. And I also make a lot of fun of myself, saying that I suck in Jiu-Jitsu, so people can relate. People think it's funny, because it's in my house. It's me, my husband, and I have 2 kids. I have a 19-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old son, and we all do Jiu-Jitsu. However, they are in another level. My husband is a professional competitor, so are my kids, and I do it more as a hobby. So I always say that I suck, and someone needs to lose in the family, and they are always winning. So people can relate. They're like, oh yeah, I suck in Jiu-Jitsu too. And so it started as that, but not so much as me being a champion Jiu-Jitsu, but more like funny comedy. That's what I've been using TikTok for, with the videos, and people are engaging and liking.
Well, I definitely wouldn't say you suck. I saw some videos, and I'm pretty sure you could beat me up pretty easily. But Marcelo, I wanted to ask you the same question. I know you have a Jiu-Jitsu podcast and you use TikTok as well. Would you say you do a little bit of both, like humor, funny, and MMA, or how do you use it?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. It's real cool to be here. Real nice conversation going on. As far as my content on TikTok, I came across it last year. In the beginning, I think everybody saw it as a young teenager thing with little dances, and I didn't pay much attention until I came across the statistics, and the numbers were something about 1 billion people had downloaded the app. So obviously I started paying attention. I have a message to share. In my case, it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well, as a martial art, as lifestyle as well. So I downloaded it and started paying attention to it, learning the app because of its communication, its connection, and that's how you reach people these days. You can't, if you have a message to share, you can't be away from it. So I started using TikTok, sharing interesting content, but always with the mindset of reaching not only the practitioners, but the non-practitioners as well. There's a lot of people looking at martial arts. It's a phenomenon. There's some martial arts that are well established. Everybody knows them already. They've been around forever. And there are some, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, my specialty, I'd say, or what I'm involved right now, that to this day, not a lot of people know it. And the way to reach people with it is through TikTok. So for TikTok, or one of the ways is TikTok. For TikTok, I do 100% martial arts related, martial arts lifestyle related, but with the intent of reaching not only the practitioner, but the non-practitioner. The way I do that is asking questions that most of the times I know the answers to. I have my own opinions on it, but I leave it open, and I put eye-catching things that might not be necessarily functional in a self-defense situation, but they catch the eye, and then I ask questions. And I have a tremendous amount of interaction with non-practitioners, which is the goal. I feel like I hold a little share, because martial arts are exploding, right? I hold a little shares in a successful company. I'm telling the story out there, and I'm being part of the growth, and that's very rewarding.
Yeah, that was a lot of great points. I definitely hear everything you're saying. That was awesome. And then I wanted to also, Natan, bring you into the conversation. I know you're not as involved on TikTok, but that you use Instagram heavily. I was looking at your Instagram earlier, and I saw some pretty cool posts of you and Shepherd MMA giving some body shots saying iron sharpens iron. I thought that was a pretty cool video. But I just wanted to ask, how would you say, continuing the conversation, that you use social media? I know you're the first Israeli pro UFC fighter. So how would you say you've used social media to kind of build your brand?
I think I look at social media kind of like a bit of a journal, sharing my story. I try to keep it real. I try to keep it positive, even when times are tough and, you don't want to go train every day. And I want to show kind of that that's okay. But you still push and still show up and still train hard. And, as well, try to keep it either educational, entertaining, or, engaging. And I think a big part of it is like Marcelo said, some people don't train, and then you show them martial arts, like how it can improve your life. You don't need to be a pro competitor. That's like a big thing for me. You do not have to be a fighter. A lot of people message me and they want to be professional fighters, or they kind of want to do martial arts, but how do you turn pro? I think first of all, you should train for your well-being. First of all, you should train to be healthy, a healthy body, healthy mind. And then on top of that, if you want to ever get in a fight and challenge yourself and, see how it goes before you think about going pro and all of that, maybe first just experience fighting, experience training, and enjoy it.
I'd like to jump, Will. I had a call with Mauricio a week ago, and he said, Oren, the nice thing with boxers, they fight, they kind of, I don't want to use the word kill, but they fight hard and then they hug. And I to connect the dots in between being a pro to the messaging. And Nathan, I really like the messaging that connects also to the line of Mauricio, the messaging to the audience of well-being, of the lifestyle, of keeping our health first, our mind to it. So this is a good point to take as well, Mauricio. Yeah, I think you agree with me.
Yes, contact sports, the outsiders label them as aggressive, as brutal, as any sort of connotation, while it's the contrary. Any fighter in any contact sport is a true testament of what your life can be when you go the correct path. Everybody has immediate access to go into the wrong direction, drugs, criminalism, any sort of easy path. But any fighter, any person who is involved in contact sports do sacrifice. They took so much passion. They go to that gym and they change their life for the good. They change their family. They change their neighborhood. They create inspiration. And when you see that fight end after 12 rounds of incredible action, or after 5 rounds, any sport that is contact sport, and they go to the center and they hug each other, they recognize their virtues, and whoever won, doesn't matter. They understand that they have been competing for something, and now the fight is over, and now they become friends. So it's such a great, honorable action, what we see inside the combat sports world, that once you leave that, and then that turns your mind into understanding. And it is all fighters are my heroes. The way I see them is what society should be. If people would go into the ring and fight and then get it over it and move on, instead of what we see, all this dirty fighting, all these wars that happen, everything that is the problem in humanity, it can be resolved in the ring.
Absolutely.
I think these are a lot of great points being brought up by everyone. Really, just talking about fighting is so much more, and mixed martial arts is so much more than just fighting. It's about respect, and as Natan was saying, it's about personal health and training, and all great points. But before we go any further, I want to give a big introduction to Nir, who's CEO of the Lotus Alliance, who's our partner for this event. So I want to give a big introduction to Nir. Thank you so much for joining us and joining the conversation, getting right into the questions. I wanted to ask, how are you, and how is the Lotus Alliance involved with MMA? What is your perspective on everything?
Well, first of all, it's great to be here. Thank you all, guys. And well, it's not just about MMA. We're here for all martial arts. And as you probably know, Lotus invented a new methodology and also a new technology. And the thing is, when you think about the martial arts world, it's actually an amazing world, very traditional world. And the MMA did an amazing job by picking up the best athletes and make it very popular. But what we actually created here, we created something for all traditional martial arts. I don't know if you know, but there are more people doing martial arts than watching martial arts. And the thing is that if you take the traditional martial arts, it's not very popular. So in the end, what we're trying to achieve here is bringing new methodology and technology and to create a new thing in the world. And I explain a little bit further later on about it.
I have to say, maybe Will, that I've been into several meetings with entrepreneurs while they meet their board, they raise money and so on. And every time I meet Nir on the fundraising process, because entrepreneurs, you know, it sounds cool. You read, they go for IPO, they raise a lot of money, but the way to success is, you know, I think it's like the martial arts. So Nir's background is coming from martial arts. So I think it takes a lot of it, because seeing him with meetings in front of big investors raising millions and so on, you actually meet someone that knows how to cope with it. And the strength, going back to you, Nathan, of martial arts is something that you take for life, also with business, technology, startups, and so on. So that's a good reflection on coping with the reality. Please, Will.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think it ties into what we were saying earlier. It's Nir starting with MMA when he was younger. It's so much more than just fighting. As you said, it teaches you about all different aspects of life. And really furthering talking about getting into MMA, Natan, I wanted to ask you, how were you initially introduced to mixed martial arts, and what about mixed martial arts really appealed to you compared to other sports?
I was introduced to martial arts through movies as a young kid, watching Rocky, Bruce Lee. And, you know, growing up, I wanted to be a boxer. And then
Mauricio, there is a good opportunity here.
One day I discovered
we'll rank him and he can fight for the title. He's a champ.
Against one of the Paul brothers, maybe.
Fafa and Marcelo are here. I think that we have the right promotion to do that.
And
bingo.
And when I learned there was kickboxing, I wanted to do kickboxing. When I learned there was MMA, I wanted to do MMA. And after I actually in Israel, there was no MMA at the time when I was younger. So I started doing karate. I took it, you know, seriously, got my black belt in Japan. But I kind of felt like I was on a different path, and I would still watch MMA, but I was like doing something different. And at some point, the passion in me was too big, and I just had to leave everything, fly to Vegas, and go for it to become an MMA fighter.
That's awesome. Yeah. And Marcelo and Fafa, I wanted to also ask you the same question. I know you guys are Brazilian. I was talking with my colleague. Sorry, I realized I was on mute, but Fafa, I was saying Fafa and Marcelo, I wanted to extend the same question to you. I know you guys are Brazilian. My colleague Fernanda is also Brazilian. And earlier today, we were having a conversation about how big mixed martial arts is in Brazil. She was showing me some videos of her young nephews rolling around on the mats and doing some jiu-jitsu. So I wanted to know, how did you guys really get into MMA, and how big is it in Brazil, and really what is your background with it?
You want me to go first, Marcelo? All right.
Ladies first.
So I didn't start martial arts until I moved to the United States. I actually didn't start in Brazil. I started here in the United States when I moved. But it all started with my husband. Everything points out to my husband. Like I said before, he has been in the scene, the fighting scene, for so long, for over 20 years of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. He fought in events such as UFC, Bellator, Strikeforce, to name a few. And together we have an academy that we've been running, been in business for 13 years now. So in the process, you know, I decided to train jiu-jitsu because, you know, I own a gym. My husband is a professional. Why not to learn from him? So that's how I started. I started 10 years ago. And yeah, it has been an incredible journey. And, you know, and like I said before, it's a family thing. It became our lifestyle. We train together, we compete together, we travel together. So yeah, so that's how martial arts got introduced to me through my husband. And now it just became our life.
Marcelo?
Nice. Yeah, I think my story is similar to, or is the story of millions of people. I'm kind of a lifelong practitioner. I've been doing it almost nonstop from 1991, but even before that, I did it. I practiced different martial arts as well. And my first one as a teenager / young adult was Taekwondo. It was my passion. And I was a little bit of a purist. I used to live in Brazil at that time, and very traditional Taekwondo. I did not like mixed martial arts. It was called Vale Tudo back then. I thought it was brutal. It was, too violent, and it had no values, no principles. That was my mindset back then. And there was a little bit of a cultural issue as well of street fighting. And back then, I would have none of that. So I didn't like it. I didn't support it. And then like Nathan, I grew up watching maybe older movies because I'm a couple of years older than him, but I grew up watching, the Chinese Kung Fu movies, and I loved it. But I had a little bit of resistance with MMA in the early 2000s when the United States is starting to grow in a different way. And the UFC came up with the different weight divisions. That's when I started liking it a little bit more. And I had a background of being bullied in like 6th grade. And, so I wanted to learn self-defense and be a good fighter, be confident and everything. And that's what attracted me. One of the reasons why MMA attracted me, I felt like it was more reasonable and more effective in self-defense. So I gave it a shot, started watching it, the sport blew up, and I guess the rest is history.
Yeah, that's a great story. And then Nir, I wanted to turn it back over to you. So I know, as you said, you were involved in MMA and stuff like that growing up, but talking more about the Lotus Alliance, how has Lotus really been helping to grow the sport and appeal to the youth, and more on the tech side of it, really grow the sport?
Well, first of all, in my days, there was no MMA. I started with karate, like Nathan. I also found myself, in Japan, training, competing, getting punched up. And what we created in Lotus Alliance, well, you have to understand the need. When you come from the world of martial art, well, you get a lot of respect, but you don't get a lot of money out of it, and probably not publicity. Again, I'm putting aside the MMA and the boxing, which in league of their own. I'm talking about the traditional market of martial arts. Now, think about it like, well, it's kind of a divided and decentralized market. And the thing is, it's like a huge army with divided clans. So again, it's very hard to grow within the martial arts world. You can go to the UFC today, which is great, but if you want to stick with the traditional, it's very, very hard. And the thing is that if you can combine those markets together, there is something that's quite amazing that can actually be happen in this world. Okay, you can combine the work and the efforts of all of them and create a big market. And this is what we're trying to achieve in Ludus. This is why we created the technology and methodology all together. And what we're trying to do is to connect everyone over there. And by that, we can achieve wondrous things in this world.
Yeah, thank you so much. And then Natan, Nir was just talking about kind of how harder it can be to grow. And I'm sure, working all the way up to the UFC. Talk about that journey a little bit. How good does it feel to now officially be signed to the UFC, and your journey going throughout? How was that?
It's amazing. I showed up here 7 years ago in Vegas. I got lucky enough to meet a good coach. And, all I knew was karate. I had this side-bladed stance. And I didn't know anything on the ground, anything punching, really barely anything. And just through a lot of hard work and good coaches, good people around me. 7 years later, I got a shot. I had some amateur fights, some pro fights. And on 2 days' notice, thanks to COVID, during the whole shutdown, I was training every day for hours because I knew chaos is a ladder and there was going to be some opportunity in all of this. And the moment presented itself, 2 days notice to fight on Dana White's Contender Series. And I was ready. I took it and I won the fight by finish with a choke. And it was an awesome moment. Right now, I'm waiting for my debut. And of course, I'm very happy and very excited, but at the same time, I know this is only the beginning. Now the fights only get harder. The competition is going to get tougher. So I have to train even harder, push myself every day to be on that level.
Yeah, it's crazy to hear that you came in only knowing karate, nothing on the ground. I was doing some research and I saw that the victory you had on the Contender Series was an arm triangle choke, and the fighter you had beat, I believe, had finished 5 of his previous 6 fights via submission. So to think that in just a few years you were able to become so developed on the ground really is awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I put the Ju in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and then Nir, I wanted to just come back to you again. So just a general question, how do you see Lotus becoming a real game changer and a real staple in the mixed martial arts industry?
Well, again, we don't see ourselves just in the mixed martial arts. Sorry about that. What we're trying again to achieve is it's something for the Generation Z. Again, we're talking about the rising of all the martial arts. It's not correct actually, okay? Because there is the MMA, which is rising all the time, and the traditional martial art is kind of a problem because all sports has a problem, which is called Generation Z. Now, this is a generation that doesn't have a lot of patience, and when you take this generation and you actually want to provide them something, you need to be very quick and you need to create a lot of content for them. So if you take the traditional martial arts, well, this is tradition, and they had this kind of problem before, because if you look at the history, you will see that they have the same problem when they came from Japan to the Western world. That's why they had the belt system. In the beginning, there was just white belt and there was black belt, but they saw that it's not enough. People were not patient enough. So they created the color system of that. So they need to evolve again. And this is what we're trying to do in Ludus, help them to evolve, come to the future. Again, how we're going to do that? We're going to give them a new technology. We're going to give them new methodology, and we're going to give them access to create new content. If you can do that, and by achieving that, you can create a new stage that everybody can make a profit out of it, and everybody can do new content, and that will what we're going to bring more people to the traditional martial arts, which is the base to the MMA, which is the top pyramid. This is what creates the MMA, mixed martial arts. So you need to actually properly create new items and new technology for the, let's say, the foundation of the pyramid. Because in the peak, you got the MMA, the foundation is the traditional martial art. This is what we're trying to achieve in Ludus.
Well, I'm glad to know you view my generation as a problem. I'll try not to take it personally, but but well, no,
again, sorry about that. You're not the problem, okay? The problem is that the traditional martial art and the sport need to adapt to your generation, and this is the problem, okay? You're not going to adapt to the traditional martial art.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Mauricio, I wanted to ask you the same question. Have you thought about appealing to Generation Z, we'll call it the problem? And have you thought about forming any partnerships with some of the less traditional forms of media, something like YouTube or TikTok or something like that, in order to appeal to the younger generations? Or as Nir was talking about, how are you guys planning on trying to adapt and evolve to the younger generation?
Yeah, it is a need that we all have to adapt and to understand that the reality is what it is today. What we do, we try to go out to the neighborhoods. We try to go out. For example, I was in San Antonio last week for a big fight, and we went to visit many gymnasiums in the local community. And we reached out and went to schools and also to some churches. The problem is my son, and I live it every single day. He will not go out to the park. He will not go out and exercise. He's all day playing this video game. But eventually my nephew came into the house and started training boxing with him. Now my son listens to his cousin, not to the father. So we have to adapt and find a way to lead the kids to go play football, go run, go bike, go into mixed martial arts, go into boxing. It is a real problem worldwide in which, as we were saying, the immediate satisfaction comes, and that is taken by your phone, by your tablet. You are addicted since you are born to be having something and to get immediate conversation. You send a WhatsApp to someone, they don't respond in 1 minute, you feel offended. So it is a challenge, and we need to understand how to reach the youngers. But I love the way it has been shaped into stories. There are stories out there that motivate, and they come from a young kid, or they can come from an elder. For an example, last year there was a kid, Bridget Walker, who saved his little daughter. He's 6 years old. A dog attacks the daughter, the sister, 4-year-old sister, and he put in front and he saved his sister, and his face was all beaten by the dog. So we reached out, we sent him a WBC belt, and we made him do a Zoom with Mike Tyson. Of course, the kid, he didn't know Mike Tyson. The father was over the moon talking to Tyson on a Zoom. But that, now we have kept in communication with him, and you have just to go and do different things. You cannot expect people to come to see your sport, to just come to a gym. You have to make it happen. And you know, boxing is different from other sports in mixed martial arts, because the organization like us, we're not the company, we're not in the business side. So we do not have such big outlets of news as other companies that are involved in the business of the sport. But what we try to do is be active in TikTok, in Instagram, in YouTube. We're developing content. We're gonna start the WBC channel. We have started it, and we're doing these different things. As I said, the zero gravity boxing is gonna be something, a reality, and it's gonna be different things. And we just go out there and try to find kids. That's the key, and the parents, because when you have a troubled kid, mostly comes from the family, and you don't know how to resolve it. I personally was in such concern of my own son, and my nephew is the one who saved me. So it's just a way that you have to find a path to lead the kids into sports.
Mauricio, I will call you later for 5-minute consulting in my hand, if I may. Actually, you know, it's amazing to see it, Will, because we have kind of a full channel here that starts with the fighter, Nathan, the hero, the superstar, the key opinion leader, the Mauricio, the enabler, in terms of, you know, the leader of the organization that is open-minded and gives the platform, the promoters, Fafa, Marcelo, that actually creates, you know, deliver it. And the content creator, the new content creator, and the new platform, which is Ludus, led by Nir. This is an all-full channel that actually, this is the new word. You know, if you're doing, if not, and I guess if you're fighting and no one sees it, you don't get promoted in terms of getting the exposure. And this is, as you said, the problematic generation. Will and his friends, they, you know, we all really need it. We all really need this kind of the return. So we have to understand what motivates the new generation. Maybe I will ask Fernanda, Will, if I may, to see something that we would like to share with the audience. Fernanda, are we able? Is it ready?
Yeah, sure.
Kind of a 45 seconds of, you know, we're talking about it. Maybe we'll see it a bit.
Is going to be, did Ben Lugo get a 10-8 round in that second round? Right. The way he dominated. And it was all Natan Levy in the third round.
Hell of a comeback so far by Levy there. Wow. Both guys showing some respect to each other.
Very, very entertaining fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards. And one judge scores the bout 28-28, a draw. The two others score the bout 29-28 for your winner by majority decision, Natan Levy.
You know, I think that the only one that really felt you know, the feeling of the fighters here in the club. I saw Mauricio doing like this, and Nathan, you know, being tough, ready, you know, with the punch like he's in the arena. So that was amazing. Nir, I guess you understand what is it to get one or to give one in that sense. And Fafa and Marcelo, you guys come from this industry and many others. But this, I think that this passion shows it all. You know, we have to see it because we can talk about it for hours, but talking the talk, walking the walk. You know, Nathan, how does it feel to see it now?
It gives me chills. It's in this fight, I almost got knocked out in the second round. I blacked out for a few minutes and just suddenly find myself in some position and I have to fight out of it. But yeah, for me, this is everything, you know, winning, representing with the flag. You know, I say winning, losing is fine too, but just all of the hard work and getting the fruit. And yeah, it feels great. It's for me, every moment like this is unforgettable.
Absolutely, absolutely. Will, to you.
Well, I wanted to thank everyone so much for coming. As Oren said, this was such a great conversation. We have Natan, a fighter representing the UFC. We have Mauricio representing the WBC. We have Marcelo and Fafa as promoters, and we have Nir on the tech side of the whole industry. I think Oren said it perfectly. We really do have a panel that was able to encapsulate everything and touch all the different bases. So I'm so happy to have been a part of this conversation. I hope everyone feels the same way. I think we're at a great spot to wrap it up. If anyone wants to add anything, otherwise, I just want to thank everyone for coming. Yeah, Natan, Fafa, go ahead, unmute yourselves. Right, we wrap it up.
Fafa, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks.
Fafa, you know, it will cost you a liner on TikTok though.
What is it?
a promotion for Nathan, you know.
Oh yeah, let's work together. Let's do a collab. No, I was gonna say, as a content creator, you know, I don't think Gen Z is the problem. I think it's
Thank you.
I just think it's how, you know, technology is advancing in that way that we need to renovate, we need to adapt to, you know, it's just how it is. Like, you know, a kid nowadays, they know how to manage this, and someone in their 50s, they have no idea. Like my grandparents does not know how to use a phone, but a baby now has the capacity of doing anything, FaceTime, and go to YouTube and watch videos. So it's just got to think of that. And I believe that this new platform, such as TikTok that I'm familiar with, it has all the tools. You know, if you are creative, you know, just find a niche and you will do well, and you can be a good influencer or a bad influencer, you know. And for the addictive, Mauricio is saying it's becoming a problem and kids are getting addicted. Well, you know, I have kids and I try to hold on to them. You know, I say no to them to phones until they went to middle school. But since, you know, it came to an age that I was like, I can't hold them from this anymore, you know. So they now, yeah, it's just how it is. It's just how, you know, we are walking into this future of technology, but we can definitely use it, all the tools that it's being provided to us to do well, to influence people to do good, you know, to show, like in my case, you know, I've been showing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with my family, what goes behind our struggles, you know, a little bit of who we are, besides just, you know, being martial artists, you know. So I think it's Jiu-Jitsu's not the problem. It's just how we're walking into that, you know. So yeah, that's all I wanted to add out there.
Amazing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I don't think Gen Z is the problem. I think we're all lazy mammals. Wouldn't it be cool to connect to the Matrix and just know Kung Fu and just know Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and just know boxing? But unfortunately, it takes a lot of hard work. We got so much information out there, sometimes maybe too much. It's so easy to scroll and just see techniques and think we understand stuff. But I think for me, posting, I know some people will be advanced enough to maybe see what I'm doing. I know when I scroll Instagram, I see some techniques and maybe I can try and replicate it, but I'm never gonna have the details like showing up and learning it So it's a cool little thing to kind of accumulate a little bit of tricks, and but there's nothing that can replace the real hard long path. And I think we can use technology to our advantage, like the Ludus, like sleep tracking, heart rate monitors, everything. We can use it to become better martial artists. And for my last point, Marcelo was talking earlier about, when you do a traditional martial art, a lot of times the taboo with MMA is, oh, there's no respect. They're just, brawlers. And it's true that when there's a sport, I divide it to 3 categories for MMA. Sorry, martial artist, athletes, and fighter. You're kind of somewhere on that spectrum. Some people more prize fighters, less about the martial arts. Some people more athletes. And I think at the end of the day, same with boxers, as long as the commission lets you fight, you don't need to be respectful to fight. But it's up to us to show the younger generation what is respect, what is honor, what is integrity, and promote the right things, promote the right fighters, promote the right content, create the right content to make a good, powerful impact, on younger generation that look up to us.
Nir, do you have anything to add? Any closing remarks? Marcelo, I see you had your hand up if you want to go ahead.
Thank you. As far as the generations and problem in this and that, I think all generations have a problem. I think my generation has a major problem. One of them is, I don't like these kids things, the whole computer thing. I suck at technology. It's like the other side of the pendulum. Gen Zs, we accuse them of doing it too much, too much of a digital online life. And then in my generation, there's a lot of guys that will be here on the pendulum and not do any technology, so both generations and all generations will have their challenges. And, as far as the Gen Z generation and interaction with my generation, I think we can be part of addressing the problem and being part of the solution. I have 3 Gen Zs in the house, 3. And they've been raised in a way that they yell at me if I don't work out. My son took me lifting yesterday. I don't even like lifting weights, but they have the bug. I have a gymnast girl, I have a ballerina girl, and I have a son who does a little bit of jiu-jitsu, martial arts, in Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu, and he's really into lifting. Now, I don't get to not work out anymore. And, it's the Gen Z. They've been raised in a way, they certainly love their phones and TikTok and Instagram. They certainly do that, but they've been raised in a way that they like working out and practicing sports and connecting with people in person. And I think there's another myth is that to say that my generation accuses the Gen Zs of not being connected. Now, when I was a kid, that was a very long time ago, but when I was a kid, I had no friends that were out for whatever reason. I would go outside and throw the ball at the wall. Just throw, the ball would come back, and then I would throw it again. I had no connection with anybody. Now, my kids, they're always talking to someone around the world. They're always connected. It is a different connection, but they're always connected and they are social. I think my generation can complain all we want, but if we just complain and don't engage, one, we don't get a story out. There's no right or wrong way to tell a story. There's a story that will maybe catch 50,000 people, 250,000 people, or maybe your style is going to catch 10 people, 20 people, but you're telling your story, you're putting your message out there. And it goes back to what you're saying, Nathan, it's up to us to tell our story, to show the younger generation whatever we want to show them. It's really going to be up to us. And I think social media is a great tool for us to share a message and even making the world a better place. I believe in martial arts. I believe in the lifestyle and the values of martial arts. And I think it's part of the solution, but it is up to us to put the message out there. Thank you so much, you guys, for having me. This was so much fun. Thanks to all of you.
Of course. Thank you too, Nir. Did you want to add anything?
Well, yeah, actually, what I see here around the table is all the kids that started their martial arts.
and all became adults and choose the different path. And what I see here is the future, because we are the stakeholders. And for the future, in order to adapt and evolve, we need to connect. And for that, thank you, Oren, for connecting us. And I think that by achieving that, we can create something bigger, better, because there is a lot of potential out there. And we clearly see almost the same thing from different point of views. So thank you, everyone. It was an honor to be here with you. And thank you all.
Of course. And Mauricio, do you want to wrap it up?
Sure. I mean, it's been said all. I'm so honored, so happy, thankful. I have learned, and just to listen to great stories and great concepts from everywhere. Who could ever thought that we could be connected right now? I'm here in the bathroom in Las Vegas because my wife would kill me if I do this from the room. But I'm just happy and honored, and I hope one day we meet in person. But we have to use this great moment that technology allows us to reach. You reach one person and you help that one person, or you change, or you give your story, and then it's networking. You reach 250,000 millions, much better, of course. But as long as you can understand and build the stories, tell the stories, and learn, every day learn something. Thank you so very much, Oren. Thank you. It's been a real pleasure, and I'm excited. I'm gonna go trade right now.
Thank you so much for coming on. You know, I'm not married yet, but I hear it's a happy wife, happy life. So I think you made the right decision, even though you're stuck in the bathroom. But thank you for coming on. And then I also just wanted to wrap things up by thanking my colleagues at Coliseum, Fernanda and Haley, who started it, and of course, Oren, who really organized this whole thing. So again, thank you everyone so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure speaking with everyone. I hope everyone found this beneficial and everyone feels like they learned something. I know I definitely did. So we'll all keep in touch. As Fafa said, I think we can all collab with each other, help each other in the future. And it's been great. That's all I got. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Can I do something before we leave?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Ever since this thing started with the pandemic, you are so far away from everyone, but there's something that you can do even by a Zoom meeting. So please, everybody, go close to the camera and let's hug each other.
Give a little hug.
Mauricio, you are a president, as I say. You are a president. Amazing. You are amazing. Thank you all. It was outstanding.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Follow me on TikTok, everyone. Thanks.
Right now.
Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Guys.